Greetings, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome to Scrubhaus Video Club Live. I'm Glokat, but you can call me Audrey because we're friends. And of course, with me over here, we got a skunk rocker.
Hi.
Hey.
So this week, our topic is the best of 2020, right? But that's the best of Scrubhaus Video Club's 2020. I don't mean the best films that came out. Can you even name a movie that came out this year? I can't. I can. Wait, no, I can name one. I got Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted. It's the only one I can think of. I can't even
put me on the spot with that one. Yeah.
Oh wait. There was that other movie. Not Mandy, but Brandy.
Becky.
I haven't seen it yet, but it looks awesome.
Yeah.
But no, we're not talking about movies that came out this year. We're talking about movies that we, as a community, watched. Because Scrubhaus Video Club is kind of like sort of like a book club where we watch stuff every week. So we had 89 films that we watched as a group this year throughout the entire year. And between those 89 films, we whittled it down to the top 10. So these are the top. It was a
very hard process.
It was very hard process. I mean, we there were arguments that were had. There were community votes that went into this. We finally were able to narrow it down to this is the top 10. And there's some movies here that shocked both of us as to like, I still can't believe that movie made it as far as it did with all the voting and everything that had happened, but it did. It happened. So once we got it down to the final 10 and we put it through a few more rigorous community votes until we got it to the final 5 and then down to the final 2, and then we knew who the winner was.
Yep.
So, but we're going to start off with our number 10 that we watched this year, Flash Gordon.
Yes, good old Flash. He'll save every one of us.
He's the hero of the universe.
Yeah, I like the soundtrack more than I like the movie. But I like the movie. It's just it has a really, really, really good soundtrack. Don't get me wrong.
Anything with Queen. Highlander's the same way. Although I like Highlander more than I like the sound. I like the film more than I like the soundtrack.
Yeah.
But that's because you got Clancy Brown and Christopher Lambert. It's fun.
I don't know. Flash Gordon is fun. That's one thing I'll say about it. It did exactly what it set out to do. It has that wonderful scene of the bird people flying.
It's got a bunch of wonderful scenes in it, you know? Like, it just so happens that the magical MacGuffin that's going to be able to save the day is shaped like a football.
Yep.
So Flash can take off with it, just do a blitz right through the guards.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid film. We don't even need to say how problematic the main antagonist is in the film, but it came out when it came out, and it was based on something that came out a long time ago, and yeah.
And I don't think with Max von Sydow, it was never an intent with him to ever be up because it is a character.
Yeah.
And he's not it's not his fault.
Right.
But he did do an amazing job with the material that he was given. So number 9, because we're going to kind of, with these first few, we're going to kind of blitz through them. We really don't have a whole lot to say about them because they're okay. They're great films. They're glad they made it to our top 10. But the films that we have at the very top, we're going to be talking a lot about. Yes. So we're going to kind of blitz through these. Number 9, The Golden Child.
I love this movie. This is my favorite Eddie Murphy movie.
This is Eddie Murphy. This really does feel like Eddie Murphy's answer to Big Trouble in Little China. It very much feels like that sort of film.
Yeah, it's clearly the best Eddie Murphy movie in my mind, specifically for the time. It I don't know. I watched this movie a lot whenever I was little, and I watched it a lot whenever I was in a rehabilitation facility as well, because it was either that or The Sandlot. And The Golden Child is a better movie than The Sandlot. The Sandlot is not on Best of 2020, but The Golden Child is.
Did we even watch The Sandlot? I know
No.
it came up on a vote once.
We have watched it. Yeah, I do believe that we have watched The Sandlot at some
We didn't
point.
watch it in 2020.
No, we didn't. It was probably like 3 years ago in the Wild West days.
And I tell you what, if we did watch it, I don't think it would have made the top 10. But less about The Sandlot, which is a movie I do like, and more about The Golden Child. The Golden Child it's such a weird film because Golden Child is one of 2 really good Eddie Murphy movies that you go into thinking it's going to be a dumb, stupid comedy. And especially with like The Golden Child, I thought we were going to go into this and this is going to be so racist.
Yeah.
It's not. It's still a funny movie, but it's more or less played straight. It's very similar to Harlem Nights. You think you're going to get laugh out loud comedy the entire time, but you don't. It's a little bit more straightforward than that. It still has its funny moments. You're still laughing through the whole entire thing, but it's a little bit more serious than that. It has mad respect for the films that it is trying to ape on and the culture that it is basing itself around. That's one of the reasons why it ended up on the list the way that it did, because it's that good of a movie. And if you are into that sort of like 1980s like high action martial arts, if you like Big Trouble in Little China, you're gonna love The Golden Child.
If you're a fan of Charles Dance, you're also really gonna like The Golden Child.
Yeah, Charles Dance is in it, chewing the scenery, which is what Charles Dance does.
Yeah, it's a very good role.
Speaking of scenery chewing, number 8, shock treatment.
It's all scenery, all chewing, all singing, all the time.
All the time. Shock treatment is amazing. This was I'd seen Shock Treatment previously for this night that we ended up watching it for Scrubhaus, and I'd never seen it sober. Every time we ever watched Shock Treatment was at a science fiction convention, and I would always be 9 sheets to the wind when we got there. So I would pass out like two minutes into the movie. I never actually, when we were going to watch it, I said, you know what, I have to watch this movie from beginning to end. I'm not going to have, I had a little to drink. I'm not going to have a lot to drink. I'm not going to have what I have at a convention. And I sat there and I watched the movie, and it turned out to be damn good. I even say it's better than Rocky Horror.
I mean, it's a divisive opinion. I think they're both graded on different merits. I'll say that I enjoy Shock Treatment more as well, but I think that Rocky Horror, if Rocky Horror didn't happen, Shock Treatment couldn't happen, but Shock Treatment is absolutely underrated. That's what I'll say. Yeah,
and I have no problem alienating people in the audience. I think Shock Treatment is better. I do like Rocky Horror as well, though. If I had to pick one, I'd pick Shock Treatment. But why can't we have both?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, if you're gonna watch it and you've not seen it before, watch Rocky Horror first and then watch Shock Treatment, because it's technically a sequel to Rocky Horror, but it's also not. The only reoccurring characters really are Brad and Janet, and they're not played by the same people. So,
and there's this really weird dichotomy, because they're not the only
technically they're not. Yeah.
There are other characters who return and are played by the same actors, but they were bit characters in the first film anyway. And nobody really does anybody outside of major Rocky Horror fans and us remember who Betty Ripson is?
Was Ralph Hapshat played by the same person as well?
She's Betty Hapshat now.
Yeah.
But no, they are the same. They're both the same.
Okay.
But they were basically background characters in the first movie. They get married.
The wedding.
But you have a whole bunch of you do have a bunch of returning actors and actresses, which is really cool. Yeah. Because you get, of course, Patricia Quinn comes back. Obviously,
Richard O'Brien is obviously back.
Little Nell comes back. Charles Gray comes back. There's a whole bunch of. They're playing different characters now, and near and dear to my heart because I was a fan of the young ones. Rick Mail is in this movie as an orderly, which is pretty cool. The film is it's a musical about reality television. It's kind of the Truman Show before the Truman Show.
It predicted reality television.
It really did. It's pretty neat.
It's crazy.
Because reality television wasn't a thing at the time.
Right. Well, that's one of the reasons the movie failed is because it was too much of an out there premise. And now that reality TV has happened, a lot of people go back and they see it for what it is, and they quite enjoy the film.
It's a really good movie. If you haven't seen Shock Treatment, if you've been putting it off because you're like, it's not Rocky Horror, check it out. Whereas Rocky Horror is very much in your face, rock and roll, 60s and 70s, sort of cock rock stuff. Shock Treatment is very 80s. It's very 80s. It's very new wave. So if you like new wave, if you're into like Devo and stuff like that, definitely check it out. Number 7, Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Anybody who listened to our podcast, which is like nobody, would know that this was one of our best of the decade. It's actually in the best of the decade. So really, really happy it ended up on this list. I mean, I really feel like I'm going to plug us here. I'm going to say, if you want to know how we feel about Tucker and Dale, you should go back through the YouTube archives, find the podcast. It's the best of the decade, and just listen to us talk there.
Because if you're watching on YouTube, it's on the same channel. Just you'll go through. We used to have a podcast where we did this. I didn't want to sit there and do the editing anymore. We got kind of burnt out on it. But this StreamYard makes things so much easier. Thank you, StreamYard.
So just go back and watch that. We can move on from here.
Yeah, because we're basically going to say the same things. Yep. We love it. It's awesome. New respect for Alan Tudyk. Still doesn't make me want to watch Firefly though. That's why it's only number 7 on the list.
But number 6.
Number 6. Oh, shit. I wasn't ready. Hold on.
It's Phantom of the Paradise.
Phantom of the Paradise. Sorry, I didn't think we were going to go through that fast.
Yeah, you don't need to talk about Tucker and Dale.
I do see that Dan Hollifield shows up better a late arrival than a no-show, which is good. You're here just in time, Dan, for us to talk about Phantom of the Paradise. This was kind of the year of the musical for us because we had 3 musicals that made it into the top 10, one of which made it into the top 5, which was awesome. But we had a lot of musicals this year. We even had a musical night specifically, but I didn't expect 3 of the 6 musicals that we watched this year or that we had on lists this year. And all of the musicals that we watched to end up in the top 10. I couldn't believe that. Or no, wait, there was one that did.
We watched a couple other. Well, it depends. There's loose definitions of musicals as well.
The one I was going to say was Repo. Repo was like number 11. Yeah. Like it barely.
Repo was actually in there.
But no, the Phantom of the Paradise. I could not believe Phantom of the Paradise didn't get into the top 5. So did you watch Phantom of the Paradise prior to the first time you watched it with it? No.
Okay. So you went into that movie blind.
I went into that movie completely blind. I knew about it because I'd seen the costume of the Phantom before.
Yeah. So my mother loved this movie. So I've seen this whenever I was a kid. Also, Crowley, Bo. This is Bo's favorite movie.
Yeah.
So he'll commonly talk about it. But I've loved this movie since I was a kid. I was kind of raised on musicals, as weird as it seems for someone as gruff as me. I'm a big musical kid. I was, and this was one of the ones that I absolutely adored. It was probably my mom's fault. You'll hear me sing praise about specific movies from my childhood. Band of Paradise, Heathers, Toxic Avenger series, things like that. And it all ties back to that stuff. But whenever it comes to the Phantom of the Paradise is it's probably the best Brian De Palma movie. It's kind of hard to say.
That's tricky, actually.
I think it is. It's Yeah.
He's as far as my favorite Brian De Palma movie, I'd probably lean towards Phantom. I'd probably lean towards Phantom. I know a lot of people would say Scarface. I lean towards Phantom, honestly.
Yeah.
But you are missing you are skipping a lot of really good Brian De Palma stuff in saying that, because he also had Mission Impossible, he had
That's way
Body
better than
Double,
that.
he
Yeah,
had
it's better than that.
Carrie.
Yeah. No, the dude. Yeah, this is my favorite.
Yeah, I agree. This is
But
Brian De Palma getting at his most artsy and amazing, and it's just really cool to have sort of a. It's really cool outside of Repo. Because Repo's another one that does a very similar theme. It's a slasher movie musical. That's super cool to me. You take two great tastes and put them together. And sometimes you get a total shit sandwich out of it, but in this particular case, you got a banana split. It's awesome. I love it.
It's a really weird cast as well.
It does. Very weird.
My favorite is I'm a big Smokey and the Bandit fan. And Lil Enos.
Who isn't?
Lil Enos plays Swan, which is awesome.
He's weird. He's weird as hell in the whole thing too.
Well, I mean, Paul Williams is just a weird dude.
Yeah.
So like it really works. Rod Sterling does some like narration at the beginning of it, and then of course the best character that I feel the worst for is Beef.
Yeah, Beef is awesome. I love Beef. We still couldn't get what the deal with Beef was. It was like Beef was like a cross between like Flash Gordon and Alice Cooper. He's such a weird fucking character, but I love him.
He was probably early non-binary representation prior to actually,
which was
non-binary
really
stuff.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's compared a lot to Rocky Horror, and I think that's unfair.
There's a lot of like
films.
There's a lot of progressive values that are in this film, obviously, and there's a lot of stuff that was there from when it was written, and that makes it a really cool footnote in history that you can go back and take a look at. There's also a scene where the main character in real life almost gets his head actually caught in a record press.
And it's a really cool part about that is that the really cool part to me, not this guy almost died, but it wasn't a record. It wasn't an actual record press. Yeah. It was actually designed for toys, but they made plates for it that look like records. Yeah, that's not how records are actually pressed, but it looks cool on film. He's got his head in this thing, and there was these blocks that were supposed to prevent it from crushing his head, and the blocks were misplaced, and so he almost actually got his head crushed. And it's amazing that happened. And
his actual reaction is in the movie. They kept that take. That's a neat little bonus fact for all you kids out there.
Now we get into our top 5, and this was really difficult.
This one's kind of dumb.
Number 5, Streets of Fire.
Not this movie. This movie is great.
Our third music. I was wondering why you said that, because I know this is one of your favorite movies. So this was actually, we do this thing every year called the Scrubhaus, which is to celebrate when we all first started watching movies together online. As far as the Scrubhaus goes, because we were doing this when me and Audrey lived together in Knoxville, just for shits and giggles back in the day. It was just me and Audrey and our friend Ray and our friend David would come by, and we would just sit there. We'd watch movies. We'd get drunk and stoned, and that's what we did. We did this every Friday. And then when me and Ray both moved, I moved back to Chattanooga. Ray moved to.
Hold on, we're getting way too deep into a story here.
Well, I'm finishing up right now. Actually, we decided to start doing it again through Discord, and that's where Scrubhaus Video Club was born. So every year we celebrate that by having all of us who are been a part of this community for a while come together and pick 5 films. This was the winner this year. This was the one that everybody wanted to see, Streets of Fire, and why not? It's an amazing film with some great visuals, filmed in the city of Chicago. I love the fact that during with the scenes where there actually was Chicago, that I could point out landmarks. 'Cause I'm from
Actually filmed in Chicago.
So
Well, it's just like whenever he made The Warriors, it was actually filmed in New York. Like he likes the city as a character in his films. That's just the way that it is.
that's one of the things I want to point out. It's a Walter Hill movie, so it's a Walter Hill movie. You've got explosions and motorcycles and rock and roll. That's
and Willem Dafoe and Diane Lane and Rick Moranis.
Lee Ving is in this. I mean, Rick Moranis playing a badass too. That blew my mind. Rick Moranis comes into this movie with fire and passion. The only other role I could even think of where he was this badass was fucking Spaceballs.
I feel so bad for Walter Hill about this movie though, because this film bombed. This film didn't even make its budget back. And
it's amazing to me that this movie flopped because it's that badass.
Well, it'd just become like a cult classic. Like, and I hate that,
it's a movie where a motorcycle jumps over an explosion. Any movie that has that, and I've seen a bunch of them that have that, usually end up being like movie of the fucking year for people that are not like the Oscar crowd, but like the general audience.
Yeah,
look at the Fast and the Furious and stuff like that. Yeah, popcorn flicks.
Well, it was a musical, and I think that threw a lot of people off.
Yeah, there's a lot of singing in this movie.
It's good though. I absolutely love this.
It is a fantastic film. If you have not seen Streets of Fire, we definitely highly recommend it. I know Audrey would highly recommend it anyway. Yeah. This is coming from me. Watch Streets of Fire.
And this was my pick, by the way. I am the one who
Audrey
was
in the Scrubhaversary, and it was first place. And it was first place for a reason. It was that damn good.
If you want to talk about statistics, whenever we did the original breakdown of the top to get the top 10, Streets of Fire actually won that, as weird as it is. But then whenever it came down to voting on those 5 to get the top 2 that we watched, Streets of Fire didn't win. It ended up knocking it down to 5th. It's a weird thing, but because this movie is so highly regarded that almost everyone voted to put it in the top 10 or in the top 5.
Rather. When we did the splitting the top 10 down to the top 5, we did a ranking system. But when it came down to the final votes, they only got 2 votes to put on movies. So it was one of those things where if everybody was voting this very highly at the very top of their lists, but when it came down to you have to choose what 2 movies, Streets of Fire didn't do so hot because now everybody was sitting there going, but I like this other movie more, which then led to our 4th film getting voted. Or I still can't believe it. I couldn't believe this made it to the top 10. I still can't believe it made it to the top 5, and I still can't believe it's better than Streets of Fire according to
it's not better than Streets of Fire, but it's dumb.
That's how our voting went. I know, it's so dumb. Number 4, Little Nicky.
It's dumb, and the thing is that's kind of what we watch. And as we go from here, you're gonna find out just how dumb
it gets a lot dumber. But that's what Scrubhaus is all about. Little Nicky though is a Scrubhaus film through and through, because it is about one of the things that everybody in Scrubhaus loves. Fucking metal. That's what this movie is about. It's about metal. Yeah. It's about metal music. Yeah, sure, the soundtrack's a little bit too new metal but they do have other stuff in there. They've got
I made a joke
Van Halen
specifically because Protexter, my buddy Adam Protexter, he actually has a stream on Tuesday nights called You Are in a Video Store. It's on Twitch under Ultraloop. I say check it out. He's cool. But he watched Little Nicky recently, and he actually was talking about it, and I had to bring up a joke, and I'm going to bring it up here as well. POD is a character in this movie, and the band that they are not in the movie. It's just the same song is played so many times that POD becomes a character in this movie.
It's not the same song. It's multiple different songs, but POD
they just sound
all
the same.
Over this. It's all over the soundtrack. There's like 3 or 4 POD songs in this movie.
Yeah, it's weird.
Which is really weird because there's songs that are on the soundtrack that aren't even in the film. Like Disturbed Disturbed is on the soundtrack. It's not in the film. There's 2 POD songs on the soundtrack that are not on the actual physical release.
Yeah.
like
Weird.
you if you're watching there's only 1 POD song that ends up on the actual physical soundtrack. But no, I you know why this is a Scrubhaus movie specifically though? Because I can name 1 scene in this film that makes it a Scrubhaus movie.
Is it because it was the death of Adam Sandler playing characters until 2020? Because that's what it was.
No, I'm talking about for Scrubhaus specifically, not Adam Sandler's career. For Scrubhaus specifically, Clint Howard pouring wax on his nipples.
But it's also kind of an unfortunate character. Like that's actually one of my least favorite parts because that's a little bit of it's a little bit of 90s like let's make fun of this
person
because
fun of gay people and
but Clint Howard is in it.
But yeah, it's Clint Howard. It's Clint Howard being Clint Howard. And Clint Howard, if you don't know, is an amazing character actor who takes everything to 11. I love Clint Howard.
Yeah.
Clint Howard's awesome.
Yes, he is Ron Howard's brother. If you're asking.
Yes, well, Clint Howard is, Clint Howard is better than Ron Howard, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not saying that Ron Howard's bad. I'm just saying Clint Howard is better because Clint Howard I find way more entertaining than Ron Howard ever could be. Ron Howard gave us The Grinch with Jim Carrey. Yeah. Clint Howard gave us Ice Cream Man. Come on. There's no.
I thought you were going to compare Christmas movie to Christmas movie. I was about to be like, wasn't he in Silent Night, Deadly Night?
He was in 2 Silent Night, Deadly Night movies. He's in Part 4 and Part 5. So there you go. And even though they're not the same character, some people think that they're the same character because they're very similar. And I just think that's just Clint Howard.
If here's a shout out to a Clint Howard movie that I know most of you haven't seen. That if you like horror films, you should check out Evil Speak.
Evil Speak is
evil computer possesses man. Hogs eat people. It's fucking cool.
It's really super cool. I didn't get to watch it with everybody else. I had to watch it later. But Evil Speak got my attention because it was featured. Artwork from the poster was featured in a Carpenter Brute music video. Anything that Carpenter Brute makes a reference to, I already know is going to be.
Yeah. it's literally Satanic Panic on top of Electronic Panic, in like a Christian school, like a Christian boarding school. It's cool. Before we move on to the top 3, maybe we should just go ahead and get news out of the way, and then that gives us a lot of time to be able to spend on the top 3 discussing those.
If you'd like to do pop culture news now. I was going to save it for later, but yeah.
No, let's go ahead and do it now. It gives us a nice little breather and segue for movies. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to hop into some news here. So there was a remake of the Alien Pinball announced. According to Pinball News, a remake of the often sought-after Alien Pinball by Highway will be produced by the Pinball Brothers. The table is going to feature 2 LCD displays, a large one in the back glass and a smaller one in the playfield. Only 185 of the original were produced before Highway went under for terrible business decisions. Terrible business decisions. This remake not only makes the table more widely available for the first time, but it innovates on the original design. Now, if you want to know what I mean by terrible business decisions, there's a really well put together story on the fall of Highway Pinball on thisweekinpinball.com. We'll leave a link in whatever show notes we have. I absolutely recommend checking it out. It's super interesting. And this pinball table looks great. I kind of want to play it. I'm super interested in not being able to find it anywhere. It's going to be great.
Go ahead and send that link to me. I'm going to post it in the comments. So it goes to all the pages. That's strange. I didn't know there was so much controversy related to that pinball game.
They took a lot of pre-orders and stuff for it that never happened. So
which pinball is pinball serious business. Anybody who has seen Tommy can tell you that. I just wanted to make a Tommy reference.
I mean, I love pinball. Pinball is really cool, and I felt that is some very interesting news for everybody to have.
Audrey is really big into the coin op scene, in general.
Yes.
You got to go to Chicago, go to the Galloping Ghost. So that was pretty. I was super jealous.
I was too overwhelmed at the Galloping Ghost. Galloping Ghost, like I walked in, I didn't know what to play because there was so much to play. It was insane. All right, moving on.
What's the next piece of news?
Dinosaurs are going to be available on Disney Plus, coming from Screen Rant. Jim Henson's Dinosaurs will be released on Disney Plus. Originally, it was available on Hulu, but it's making the jump over the Disney streaming service. All 4 seasons are going to be streaming on Disney Plus as of January 29th.
So if you have Disney Plus literally just because of The Mandalorian, because I know a lot of people do, guess what? Now you get Not the Mama, too.
Yeah, you can watch. Yeah, you can have the child and Not the Mama together on the same streaming network.
Not the Mama is the best.
I'm a little bummed about this news, and the reason that I threw it in there is because it's starting an unfortunate trend where companies that have stake in Hulu are slowly moving things over to their own streaming services, making Hulu less and less of a viable option.
Yeah,
I liked it more when things were big and grandiose and you could just subscribe to one thing, but obviously we're going the way of cable and everybody's going to microcharge for their streaming services. And it's just going to go from there.
And if I wasn't as lazy as I am, I would crawl across over there to the other side of the roof and grab my other sunglasses, the ones where you can see one of my eyes, so that I can go yar.
All right.
What's the next piece of news?
Paul W.S. Anderson is interested in releasing the Anderson cut of Event Horizon. Via Cinema Blend, Paul W.S. Anderson recently stated in an interview, "There are bits and pieces of the original Event Horizon that turn up every so often. A little bit on VHS here or there. I think, unfortunately, the bulk of what was taken out of the movie has been lost. I think the only way to truly recreate the lost cut of Event Horizon, which is the original cut I presented the studio, they were so horrified of because it was pretty extreme. I think the only way to recreate it, actually, is to shoot new material. But who knows? In the world of Zack Snyder and the Justice League, come on, Paramount Pictures. All I need is a little bit of money, and I can just go and shoot that stuff with Joel Richardson, Lawrence Fishburne, and Jason Isaacs. A little bit of de-aging, and we can go through the whole shoot again." So Paul W.S. Anderson is staging to try to get the original scenes reshot and put back in the movie.
I know a big chunk that got removed is the blood orgy, though. And are they going to go reshoot that?
Probably. Well, a lot of that might still exist because a lot of that comes through. So he's saying that he does have bits and pieces of it. So that might be something that he has. We don't know. We've never seen a cut outside of theatrical. And in that situation, I'm excited for this. I really want this to happen. I'm not a fan of Paul W.S. Anderson to the point that there could have been 3 pieces of Paul W.S. Anderson news on this news thing that I'm doing from this week. And I just negated to put in any of it but this because I love Event Horizon. And I want to see his original vision because he used to be a creative person. He used to be really creative.
Something you said there got my attention, though, because you mentioned 3 actors. Sam Neill wasn't one of them. So are you saying that all of the scenes that got cut had nothing to do with his character?
Yes, that's all of the stuff that he can't find. Yeah.
I'm very interested now because I would imagine anything that got cut would have involved him.
Nope. Apparently all of that it seems like all of that's probably still exists. So
wow. That's amazing.
And the last piece of news that we have today has to do with your little eye patch that you threw on earlier. There has been a fan recreation of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 work print. A wonderful denizen of the internet has re-edited the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 to include all the deleted scenes found in the original work print, using the same line-through audio, which means that the music cues and everything are different as well. And yeah, the original work print was really rough to watch, and it adds 9.5 minutes back into the film, including the cut Joe Bob Briggs cameo that everybody thought was a myth that's next to impossible to find because this guy was able to get his hands on a decent copy of the work print itself. It's not good enough for a standard viewing, but to insert those scenes back. And obviously it can't give you links to where they are, but if you're internet savvy, you can find it.
Yeah, if you know if you know how to do certain things on the internet, you can definitely get a copy of that. Watch it and tell us what you think.
I mean, I'll be watching it really soon. I love Chainsaw 2. I'm really interested in seeing what this person has done, but it just happened, and it's near and dear to my heart. And yeah,
All
that'll
right,
be our news for today.
so let's get back to the list. Number 3. Mike,
Number
this
3.
is all Mike's fault.
Yeah. Here, let me kind of stand up. My buddy Dismembers Only, Mike. This is, I mean, he's the one who got everyone super interested in it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Munchie is the weirdest thing I think we have ever had in Video Club, and
No,
it's not. Okay, let me rephrase. It's not the weirdest thing we've ever had in Video Club.
It's no Rollerblade 7, but
it's definitely up there in the weirdness category because this is what I wrote for the voting for Munchie. I wrote that this is a movie that shouldn't be. And it's glorious because it's a family-friendly sequel to a Gremlins ripoff horror film that's presented by Roger Corman, starring an animatronic puppet that's voiced by Dom DeLuise, and Lonnie Anderson is in it.
And it's directed by the guy who made Chopping Mall.
I mean, it's just so it's all over the place. But the movie itself is a children's film. Through and through. It's about a kid who meets Munchie, and Munchie is Dom DeLuise being a weirdo for about an hour and a half.
You don't have an image that you can just throw on the screen right now, do you?
I don't. There is so much. If you find it online, if you find the image you're talking about, I'll throw it up there. Just did the share screen thing. I can't even with this movie. It just. I went into it thinking, well, this is gonna suck. That's what I thought. I thought this is gonna suck. This is gonna be terrible. What the hell are we watching this? And by the end of the movie, I was laughing so hard I couldn't see through the tears.
There you go. You can go ahead and pull that up real quick. Just let everybody see Munchie. Just drink that in. That's the entire movie. That you get to watch that.
This dude going on, he's dialogue. It's Dom DeLuise doing like this like New York Italian impression thing where it's just like bada bing, bada boom. I like pizza.
Yeah,
there's a random like weird science-esque 80s dance party in the middle of the film for no reason. What the fuck are we watching?
It is a very, very weird movie. It graced not only the contents of the mixtape, but I'll go ahead and pull it down and let you see that he's on the cover.
We put him on the cover along with Robert Zadar and
Julie Strain.
I can't remember her name.
Julie Strain, Heavy Metal 2000.
Yeah. So yeah, we have mad love for Munchie, and if it wasn't for Mike, we never would have discovered that disturbingly awesome film that is just it's so dumb. It's so dumb. That's why it's so good, because it's a silly, fun mess of a film.
Yeah, I would say it's absolutely a mess. Whenever it, I don't know where this was whenever I was a kid. I would have loved this as a kid because like whenever I was a kid, I loved like.
Well, you like Gremlins.
The one-eyed, one-horned giant purple people eater movie.
Flying purple people eater.
I like Gremlins. I like Ghoulies. I like little rubber monster things. I don't think I've seen Munchies or Munchie. Like that's the thing. I loved Mac and Me for whatever reason.
Munchies though is like a straight up like Gremlins ripoff horror film, and I mean apparently it's gore-tastic.
Oh, awesome! We'll watch it at some point.
We have to watch it at some point because apparently it's up there with ghoulies and goblins and or hobgoblins and stuff of being just like it's a legit horror film. Hobgoblins is terrible, but supposed to be a horror film, and then they if you see the box art, it's like this. It's a Gremlins ripoff. This little creature with a mohawk is like staring up a woman's dress because it was the 80s.
It was the 80s. Yeah.
Stuff like that was okay back then.
No, we are talking about Munchies.
Munchies, yeah, because because I can see Heather's in the chat asking whether or not we're talking about Dark Crystal or Labyrinth. But no, we're talking about Munchies, which is just a weird film. I don't even know what to do with that.
Red Letter Media also has a little Gremlins ripoff. So just throw that out there. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but they do have a movie that is a Gremlins ripoff. So
Gremlins ripoffs are always fun. We actually had a Gremlins ripoff night, and then we did a Gremlins takeover Scrubhaus night, which was fun because we got to subject people to Asylum movies, and those are.
It wasn't fun. That was terrible.
It's awful.
It was the so worst. If we did the worst of the year, Street Racer would be the last. Yeah.
Then we have our number 2, which is a great film.
Yeah.
Darkman.
Yeah, Darkman. I have a shrine. So
I've been talking about this shrine for like 3 days now. I have a shrine.
I have a framed Darkman poster. I have the comics and everything over here. This is my favorite Sam Raimi movie. This is my favorite Liam Neeson movie. This is probably my favorite dark superhero film. Darkman is perfection in its imperfections.
I said when we put the vote up for this, I said Sam Raimi wanted to make a Batman movie, and had Tim Burton not gotten it, we never would have gotten Darkman, and instead we would have gotten a really terrible Batman film.
Yes.
It still would have been great, but it would have been terrible compared to what Tim Burton did, because Tim Burton can work with the studio system. Sam Raimi cannot. Sam Raimi's somebody, give him the reins and let him do what he wants to do. He can't work in a studio setting. And with Darkman, he was able to totally take over and destroy.
Yeah, I love Henson movies, so absolutely, I do love Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. Just responding to that.
Yeah, we'll do questions. We'll do questions later, but this is what Heather was saying. As I asked if you like creature puppet movies. Yes, Dark Crystal and Labyrinth are great. And I mean, talking about puppet stuff though, technically we're in the same wheelhouse with Darkman. Because special effects wise, he's missing his face. It's just
he's
teeth.
Peyton is a very interesting looking person, and he gets more sickly and weird looking over the course of the movie. Yeah. Now, there are specific scenes in this that are undoubtedly Sam Raimi, and
Carnival.
The carnival, yeah, everything like that entire scene is one of Sam Raimi's like, I want to go avant-garde with the camera thing, and this is probably his best use of that. I think the carnival scene is a little bit better than the Evil Dead 2 laughing lamp scene. I can't overstate the amount of enjoyment that I had that Darkman made it into the top 2. Because this is one of my favorite movies of all time.
When you have just such amazing special effects in this movie as they do, for not just the makeup effects and the violence and stuff like that, but also when he starts to get angry, like these red cracks of light will appear around him, and it's all done in this really cool stop motion, fast this is the guys that made Saw were obviously inspired by Sam Raimi movies. The fast action, everything kind of glitching out on you. Like it does that in this movie, with the cracks just suddenly appearing and everything. It's done in this stop motion. These bright red cracks,
like comics, and that's specifically what this is. It's a comic movie. It's Sam Raimi directing a motion like a motion comic, which is really weird that he went on to make Spider-Man. I'm not gonna sit here and trash Spider-Man 1 or 2. I think they're fine films, but they don't feel as much like a comic book as Darkman feels like a comic book.
Exactly, and that's what I was saying with the studio interference. Those Spider-Man movies could have been a lot damn better. Mm-hmm. They were good. They needed to be amazing and great. It's called The Amazing Spider-Man for a reason. and those films were not amazing. The only thing that was amazing about those movies was Bonesaw, and how many times they
He's
could fit
ready.
and how many times they could fit in a Bruce Campbell cameo. But no, Darkman is one of my favorites. I love Darkman. It's definitely a good film. All right, it's time. Here it is, number 1.
You've never heard of this movie?
No, I don't think anybody in chat has heard of this movie. Alien Space Avenger.
Alien Space Avenger. Yes. The Alien Space Avenger is a movie that's directed by Richard Haynes. Richard Haynes is kind of well known to specific people. He edited The Toxic Avenger. That's one of the big credits that he had. And he went on to direct Class of Nukem High. And this movie is kind of, it came out after Nukem High. So it's the movie that he made afterwards. And it was made for Action International Pictures, which I could talk about all day long. There's a lot to say.
There's 2 AIPs, by the way. Don't get them confused.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So American International Pictures, which everybody knows because of like the Corman flicks and stuff. And then you have Action International Pictures, which is Ted Pryor's, or not Ted. Ted is the actor. The Pryor Brothers studio. Yeah. And they made wonderful things. And this one is a little sleeper hit. It hasn't left VHS. And it's literally, it has to do with comics as well.
It really, yeah. The whole plot of this movie is basically that
Kurt Fogg from Legend of the Hidden Temple
is a comic artist who discovers that there are space aliens who landed on Earth back in the, what was it, the 40s? Like the 30s or 40s. They land on Earth, go into hibernation, and get woken up in the 80s, right? And they're terrorizing everything. So you have these 2 flapper girls and these guys who it's zoot suit guys almost. They're not wearing zoot suits, but they got that like look about them, you know, who are just going around. And like, and they're not even, half the time they're not even murdering people. They just show up and just be weird. It's awesome. They show up at a drug deal and they're just watching, and the guys doing the drug deal freak out. They're like, "You brought muscle," and they shoot each other, and they're just like,
"Yep,
free guns and drugs."
Yeah, pretty much. It's okay. So Kirk Fogg is in it.
Amazing.
Kirk Fogg is in it prior to Legends of the Hidden Temple. You get to see his ass, which is very, very interesting. Robert Pritchard is in it, who a lot of people know from, again, Class of Nukem High and the Toxic Avenger. He was Slug in the Toxic Avenger, and he was Spike in Class of Nukem High, which means he was the main cretin, essentially. And really hasn't done a lot since this movie, which is very, very weird to me because I've always thought he was a really standout, good actor, and he's wonderful in this. There's a scene where he gets his arm blown off. It's also in the mixtape. That's absolutely wonderful.
He gets his arm blown off, and then he regrows it, and he regrows it almost like
it's Piccolo. It's Dragon Ball Z.
It's like Dragon Ball Z, but I was saying like Deadpool. When Deadpool's regrowing, he has a little baby hand at first. So it starts off all tiny and stuff, and then it grows into like a full size. But it takes forever. It's like 5 minutes of watching this dude being all like, ah! As his arm, blood's pouring out of it, and skin and tissue is reforming. And it's like if you watched Wolverine's Healing Factor in real time, this is what it looks like. It's awesome.
This movie is like the most non-trauma movie that can exist.
The dialogue is so bad. I love it. The dialogue is terrible.
It's just like a trauma movie. You can tell that AIP just kind of threw trauma money at this guy, and he was like, "I did it for trauma. I can do it for this," and he did. Yeah,
he at one point the Rex character picks up a gun. It's back when they're still in the 40s, because the first half of the movie is still in the 40s. And he picks up a gun, and he's like, "You ever shoot anybody with this?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I only use it for target practice. There's not a whole lot of krauts around right now." and everybody's laughing about it, but the aliens are laughing like, "Ha ha 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 ha, yeah, ha ha passing the guns to each other. It's such a weird scene. Such a weird movie. I love it.
There's a scene where a man blows his foot, or one of the aliens blow their foot off, and it grows back as a hand.
Or even, yeah. Oh god, that was funny too. Everything about this movie is weird and funny and disturbing, and it's great. It's fantastic, and holy crap!
If you like Class of Nukem High,
yeah.
If you like The Toxic Avenger, this movie, you're sleeping on it if you haven't seen it. I know it's not exactly easy to find. Again, if you're crafty on the internet, you might be able to find it. I'm currently hoping that somebody like Vinegar Syndrome picks this thing up at some point and puts it out on Blu-ray.
We want the 4K HDR restoration and the Dolby Atmos surround sound. We want the whole 9 yards, or just give us like a straight from VHS. Put it on a Blu-ray. Fine, I don't care.
I just want people to. Yeah, they need access. That's the thing, is a lot of Action International Picture movies are available for streaming for free if you have Amazon Prime. And I was hoping that it would end up on Amazon Prime. It's not there. But Pryor's really good about putting their movies up on Amazon Prime. So it might happen at some point. I know there are some movies from AIP that just show up there out of nowhere that people haven't seen in ages, that doesn't have any Blu-ray release or anything. And then all of a sudden it's just like, Final Justice. That's not there. The Final Sanction. The Final Sanction was on Amazon Prime before it came out as a DVD. It was weird.
So congratulations to Alien Space Adventure. That is the 2020 Scrubhaus Video Club Film of the Year.
Balloons, streamers, etc.
And now we're going to take questions from the audience. We got a few minutes left. We're going to take some questions from the audience. If you guys have any questions for us, let us know.
We should call this calls from the public.
Justin Solis said Sam Raimi did The Amazing Spider-Man. That's true. I was saying The Amazing Spider-Man. That's the name of the comics.
Or Spectacular.
One's Spectacular, Incredible. There's a whole bunch of different names. I use The Amazing Spider-Man as a joke. Hey, Dakota's here. Hi, Dakota. Yeah, this was the question earlier about Dark Crystal and Labyrinth.
Yes.
Both films amazing. Dark Crystal we watched this year.
Yes.
We watched Labyrinth.
Was it this year? No, we didn't watch Dark Crystal this year. We watched Dark Crystal last year.
Dark Crystal was on a vote. Labyrinth.
I love the Skeksis. They're awesome. We haven't watched Labyrinth. We absolutely haven't watched Labyrinth.
Justin Solis, Zack and Miri shit cannon.
Yeah.
That's randomly bringing that up.
It's good special effects.
Good special effects. I remember she said something at the beginning of that scene too, and I just, as soon as she said it, I sat there and was like, she's gonna shit on somebody's face. Somebody's gonna get their face shit on. I just knew it was gonna fucking happen. But then that scene takes forever before it gets to that moment. And I kind of forgot about it when it happened. It scared me. I was like, what the fuck? Oh my God, she's pooping on him.
So I have a funny story about Zack and Miri.
Fucking weird movie. Yeah.
I'd not seen any of the trailers for Zack and Miri. I just knew it was a Kevin Smith movie. And whenever it came out, we rented the DVD because you could do that. You used to be able to rent movies. Oh, yeah. I mean, we had a laptop, and apparently we had the laptop plugged in incorrectly. So everything was just in black and white, and it was a Kevin Smith movie. So I thought it was just a black and white movie because he's done that before. So the first time I watched Zack and Miri, I watched it with no color. I just watched it in black and white. I can say that Zack and Miri is a good movie, whenever it's black and white as well, in case you ever wanted to know.
I remember the first time I watched it, and you get to the scene near the end of the film with the double Dutch rudder. I was watching with my dad. Oh, my dad was crying. He had to pause the film because he was still laughing. He couldn't get through the scene.
Is that who you get that from?
Probably, yeah.
You get to you.
My mom said it. No, my mom doesn't. My mom doesn't have the tears streaming down the face though. I've literally seen my mom at a comedy club turn purple before. We went to go see Brian Regan, and he was doing the snow cone thing. But he was like, "There was the only reason he played Little League. It was because he played Little League baseball was so that he could go get snow cones afterwards. So he was distracted the entire time. They'd be like, Brian, there's going to be a pop fly to your field. Great. Cherry, I like grape best, but I'll take cherry too. Snow cones, right? He was doing that bit. My mom was next to me. She was turning purple. She couldn't breathe. My family loves comedy, so that's.
You have laughed so hard you couldn't breathe, and then made us rewind it so that you can see it again. You that's a thing that you've done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Heather said, by the way, pointed out she was constipated. That's what it was. She was constipated going into the scene. Very fucking weird film.
Super weird movie, but I mean, it's Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith gets deeper and deeper into weirdness every movie that he comes out with.
He wants to blame it on marijuana, but I think he just wants to. He's just getting more and more to the point where he just wants to. I want to make something that nobody else will make. I want to make a movie where a guy gets turned into a walrus, and he can sit there and blame that on pot all he wants, but he knows he just wanted to see a guy get turned into a walrus. Remember that? You know what the word?
You remember Yoga Hosers? So it feels like he made that movie so he could dress up as a little tiny German sausage thing.
Nazi, the Bratzies.
The Bratzies. Like, I feel like those movies were made for the Bratzies. It's like he was just like, I want to make a Nazi bratwurst. I've got an idea for a movie.
Or they're on a Hollywood Babylon. Heather's gonna love this conversation. They were on Hollywood Babylon, him and Ralph Garman, and they do the Germans. And so he does this stupid German accent that's really terrible and awful. It sounds like the dude from fucking Aqua Teen Hunger Force, right? The Space Catats guy.
Yes.
I forget what
the Plutonians.
I was going to say he's Plutonian, right?
Yeah.
And they do that accent, but for some reason he does it all high pitched, and so that was the whole thing. With that, and that was the reason why he wanted to he put the Bratzies in the movie. All of those films for the True North trilogy, which we never got the third one. We never got Moose Jaws.
Oh, he still says that Moose Jaws is happening. He keeps saying it's happening.
They were all based off of the Walrus Yes thing. They're all based off of different podcasts that he's done. Because he got the idea to do Tusk because he read a Gumtree, a fake Gumtree.
Yeah, it was fake.
Gumtree is like UK Craigslist. It was a fake Gumtree ad where somebody suggested you can live in my house completely rent free as long as for like 2 hours a day you dress up as a walrus. And they thought it was they immediately turned it into a horror film. But he was like, I want to make this movie. If you want to see this movie, do the hashtag. So he made the film. Yoga Hosers was the same way because Yoga Hosers was based off of a conversation, I believe, if I remember correctly, he had with Ralph Garman on Hollywood Babylon about wanting to make he wanted to make a movie with his daughters, him and Johnny Depp's daughters in it, because they were having so much fun making a movie. And then what ended up happening is that they were in the middle of making that movie, and because of her connection to Johnny Depp, she got cast in a fucking Quentin Tarantino film, and now arguably she's probably more famous than her dad is.
Nah, I wouldn't say that. She is relatively famous though.
She's working on it, man. If she keeps doing things like Tarantino films and shit, like she was one of the main Charlie's Manson family members in that film too. It was freaking weird.
I don't want to get into my strange distaste for that movie. It's my least favorite Tarantino film. Yeah.
Wow, you like it less than The Hateful Eight? Holy shit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I thought it was okay. I didn't like the ending. I thought the ending was stupid.
I think that it was all the Manson stuff didn't need to be there. None of it needed to be there.
You're right.
That's
to do that at the very end was just like fucking weird. But I guess they kind of did the same thing with Inglourious Bastards. You know.
And Inglourious Bastards was already a movie. It was a remake, so I mean, it's whatever. But it just.
But
not a fan.
That was Blake. Nobody's asking any questions. Just
it's okay because it is 9 p.m., my friend.
I guess it's time to go. I guess it's time to shut the show down. Because it is now 9 o'clock. I think we're done here. We've talked about our favorites. once again, if out of these films, out of these 10 films, I recommend everybody watch Alien Space Adventure.
If you can find it.
If you can find it. Dark Man, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to recommend Munchie?
No, I mean, it depends on what kind of person you are.
I will skip.
If you take a look at that picture that I showed, and you went, yeah, I want to see that, then absolutely Munchie is the movie for you.
I will skip down to I'll skip Munchie and Little Nicky and say definitely see Streets of Fire, Phantom of the Paradise, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, Shock Treatment, and The Golden Child. Flash Gordon if you like cheesy sci-fi, and Queen.
You got to be a specific type of person for that. Luckily we are, but we're the specific type of people for very specific things.
Yeah, and that's what we do here. We're the end of pop culture. We're right there at the end of it. Where all this stuff nobody else likes goes, and we love it. So that is the Scrubhaus Video Club live for this week. We'll see y'all next week when I don't know what we're gonna talk about.
We're gonna talk about stuff next week, everybody. It's gonna be good. Bye.
Bye.